welcome to Other Lands Editing Podcast, where two speculative fiction writers and editors help you craft fantastical worlds by keeping an eye on exacting editing and foundational writing principles. Every 2 weeks, we bring you interviews with other writers, advice on editing and writers' craft pitfalls, and reviews of popular media to help you grow. So sit back, relax, and join Margaret Bates and Midnight Boss as we discuss all things writing and editing. Hi, this is Margaret from the Other Lands Editing Podcast, and I am here today with Midnight, of course, my trusty co-editor in all of this. And we have Harry Carpenter here today as a special guest. He is a horror author in the Baltimore area, and he is the founder and continues to maintain the FrightReads Festival, which is now in Howard County, Maryland, and it is going to have its 5th year this year. So welcome. Thank you for joining us, Harry. And so, my first question to get the ball rolling is about you as an author. How did you get interested in horror and how did you get started making that leap to writing it?
Okay, out of the gate.
Mhm.
So, my interest in horror dates way back to being a kid of the 80s, watching, we had when it was thick. Yet you were already saturated in Halloween, you had Friday the 13th, Nightmare, the whole gang. They were already running strong. So you had a good environment for horror to begin with. Then you had other John Carpenter hits like The Thing, and just there was such a shotgun blast of horror, especially in the 80s. You had high level, low level. You had Ghostbusters, Gremlins, a bunch of stuff that kind of transcended horror and comedy. So you got a little bit of some laughs while people were being eviscerated or chewed up on by a gremlin, whatever the situation was. But I think it was always there. But I do kind of blame my dad. He let me watch Ghostbusters and Big Trouble in Little China at a very young age. And they're obviously, I know you guys can see behind me, and you know that I have the Charm City Ghostbusters as a special guest every year.
Totally.
Um, Ghostbusters is life. So it molded me into liking not so much horror. Like I do love that stuff, but I like to laugh while it's scary. So that stuff that's like kind of tongue in cheek, you're having some giggles and you're laughing when you shouldn't be, the moment's a little tense. And then writing horror, the actual writing part, I think that came much later. I dabbled in writing. I found a binder of some old writings of mine from, I don't know, maybe even like fifth grade. I'm like trying to take a stab at like when. I'm like, when was this? I was a child, clearly, and didn't know how to write. Look at this kid. He doesn't know how to write anything. Look at these punctuation marks. Terrible. But I look at that and I was writing like a sci-fi horror, 100% inspired by Doom. My window of expertise wasn't very wide. So I was like, I like the game Doom. What if I did that, but not? And I want to say I'm looking back at the writing and some of the stuff that I was putting together, and a lot of that turned into my military sci-fi action thriller. Unbeknownst to me, I wasn't like, I'm going to take this and make this good. But it had the beginnings of what became something 20, 30, whatever years later. But yeah, I got into it probably about a decade ago and started putting words on paper. And I started with a nonfiction about my crazy ex-wife. And I said, that's not what I want to write. What I do want to write are a bunch of horror stories. And I did. And I started with short horror stories and then that military science fiction. And then, I don't know, what are we on, like book 11, 10? I've lost count. It's a lot. So almost a book a year and still going.
Yeah, I was going to say, I interjected with a laugh just because I just took a memoir class and I was like, all the legal liabilities of that. It sounds easier to
Yeah.
write fiction and get your catharsis that way
Oh, yeah.
sometimes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I had to go around a lot of loopholes. No names were mentioned, no specifics, except for the four people that said they gave me the Game of Thrones answer. I want her to know it was me. Send them my regards. That kind of thing. Like put my name in that book. And I'm like, all right, I'm saving this absolute sign off.
Yeah.
But yeah, I pretty much avoided any names, anything that would obviously you can do your homework and work your way backwards, but you'd have to work for that answer. I didn't flat out tell you name, address, city, state, zip, and anything outside of maybe a very basic description, which could be anyone in the United States. She had a face, she had two eyes, she had hair. Yeah, so it's pretty vague. But yeah, it's much easier to go down the road of making up a world as opposed to living in your own. It's also less mentally taxing, let's be honest.
So the sci-fi series you're talking about, that's the Fubar series?
Yes. Yeah, so
All
I
right.
just finished book three of that. That came out in March. And I think about that. I was like, what month is it? What year is it? When are we?
It's
Um,
2025, but it feels somehow later and earlier. I don't know.
yeah,
Everything since 2020 feels the same.
time's a construct.
Yeah.
I've told that to people like it's Tuesday though, and I'm like, it's Tuesday? No, it's not Tuesday. How is it Tuesday? And then they'll be like, no, it's Thursday, and I'm like, how is it Thursday? Like time is a construct. Nothing makes sense. But yeah, I
So
wrote
for
that
that, yeah,
pre-pandemic. That was my pre-pandemic release. This was going to be the book that was going to go places. I was scheduled for. So the book came out in 2020, January 1st, 2020.
Oh no.
So, oh, this is great. I did 4 or 5 major events in January. I was killing it in February. I went to all kinds of cool stuff. Then we got into March and I had, I think, Annapolis Comic Con. I was going to do Awesome Con. There was a bunch of great things. I had two other little book signings at bookstores, a handful of Barnes and Nobles Barnes and Nobles I had a bunch of those lined up. And I tell you, my schedule really freed up about mid-March, really just cleaned that calendar out. I don't remember why, but I just didn't do any more events for a really long time. Yeah, so the first book still was well received enough, but I don't think it had the fighting chance that it should have had, being what it was. It was supposed to be the book, air quotes there. It was going to be the book. This is the one, and it didn't get to be the one. And then there it went.
yeah,
But I
that's rough
wrote two
timing.
more. Yeah.
It's good. It would be good to have like the long series ready to go for people to suddenly get into and buy all your books, but it's not a good time to start
No, no.
because people are sitting around and not doing anything.
Yeah.
We mostly focus on like how to write a lot in this podcast. Is there anything that you would like to say about how you bring your experience into that series?
So all of my books, not just Fubar, but all of them for the most part. There's a couple of them that there may be little sprinkles of me in, but Fubar definitely, and the new one that's coming out, 100% through and through. Especially with Fubar, it's me. Let's be honest. It's a different character name. It's the guy's name is Jason Chantry, and he's an army soldier. And I made him from Alexandria, Virginia, because I was like, not everybody can be from Baltimore City. Let's go ahead and move away from Maryland for a minute. Let's go down the road to somewhere else I know. But outside of that, I pretty much just it's that write what you know, and it's not limited to just your own personal knowledge. I've seen a friend of mine, Brad Cox, wrote a great book called Children of the Program, where I mean, it's a thick one. It's got some pages to it, but the story takes place. It's almost a memoir of his, where one of the characters is one or two of the characters are multiple facets of himself. Where that ends is there are characters from like Ireland and different countries and cities overseas, and he vividly describes them because he used a combination of some Googling, some maps, and did some research and made some phone calls. So it's not write what you know, which is in your little bubble, but if you learn something and you take the time to learn all about it, well, guess what? You know it. Now you can write it. But that's what I do. I definitely run that card. Write what you know. If you know how to do woodworking, then write a book that involves carpentry tools gone awry. Talk about stuff that you know. Don't get into like astrophysics and stuff that you never dabbled in. But helps to make a better story because you know what you're talking about.
The authenticity. So, and on that angle, you have the new book that's coming out in September, officially The Nightmares Unbound, which is a
Yeah.
fictionalized version of you and some of your buddies at a book convention, nah, like a horror convention, but then things go
Yeah.
really wrong. So it's like looking at the cover copy for that. You want anything you can tell us about that you're not having to save for when it comes out, or any
Oh, I'm
little
not saving
spoilers?
anything. I'm not saving anything. So a couple of my favorite things. I had this in my phone for a long time. It was probably a year, and it said a comic convention type thing that kills all of its attendees and vendors. That's the note. And if you ever talk to an author and you go, what was your note like for some of your books? And they'd be like a wizard and the turtle and they're on a space rocket. And that's like their note. And whatever incoherent babble that they wrote, they know exactly what that whole plot's supposed to be. That's what mine was. It was like horror con that kills everybody. You're like, well, what does that mean? So I started to hash out the idea with another author, Brian Paoni, and he just came out with one about a haunted penitentiary. And he spent several weeks in there. And while he was over there, I cranked out this book.
Oh, wow.
And I told him, I was like, I think my premise is I want the two of us to kind of be the lead characters. And he's like, oh, like a version of me? No, 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 you. Like, yeah, it's a version of you, but like, no, it's you. It's not somebody that's going to supposed to be you, and his name is Bruce or something. It's going to be author Brian Paoni and myself and several other authors that are within our immediate circle. I have a couple of vendor friends that are in there, a little bit of a mix of stuff. Some of them will be familiar at FrightReads, like Things Forsaken is in there. I don't know if you
Yeah.
got to talk to those
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
Ference makes an amazing just cameo basically, where he just goes completely hog wild. It's so much fun. But when I initially started the idea, Brian was the only one that I approached with, I'm writing this book and you're going to be in it. And he went, okay. Everybody else, I just said, hey, I'm writing this horror book. Who would be interested in being in my next book as yourself? I had a couple of hands get raised, and most of them made it into the book. Um, I know J.A. Barrios made it into the book. He actually got the first copy, the unfiltered, unfixed, what were you drinking, smoking, and or doing version before I even went through and like proofread and spell check to make sure I made coherent sense.
Yeah.
Um, he got the not like the beta release. He
It's
got
like the
the
Hunter S. Thompson version.
geez, yes. So he got that one. He read through it and he said, "Oh my God, this is probably my favorite thing that he's read most of my books." And he's like, "This might be my favorite thing that you've written to date and probably ever." He's like, "But I have some notes about me." So his character's in there and he had some notes. And I think, and this is what helped too, because I had a couple of people, I let them, I would run some lines by them and then they would go, no, I wouldn't say it that way. No, it wouldn't go that way. So Barrios, he goes, okay, so there's a scene where I kick somebody's boot because they upset him. And he says, I would spit right on them. And I said, you would spit on them? And he says, yeah. And then I started to think about, I was like, oh, no, you would, because at Awesome Con, we had somebody run a red light and almost run me, him, and
Oh,
his partner over. And the three of us were almost pancaked. And he like banged on their hood, said a few choice words, and then just like a camel, just right onto the windshield. And I was like, no, that checks. I'm going to backspace and we're going to do that now. Instead of you kicking a boot and being like, you big meanie or whatever I did. The gravitas is so much better with you hawking a loogie on the dude. And then one of the vendors, Kaylin, she changed some of her dialogue because she's like, nah, nah, let's get a little nastier with it. And I was like, okay. She's
I
like,
love how
I
they're
would say
like,
it
I
this
can
way.
do worse. Make me worse. Make me more.
Yeah. The line that I had, they're trying to interrogate one of these people that's obviously there are some killers in this book. They are trying to get some answers from one of them. And it's this little dainty blonde lady and they're like Brian's trying to use his police interrogation skills to get some answers. And he's like, "Well, I've done everything I can in the book short of violence, and I'm not going to hit a woman." And Kaylin, who actually does all the artwork, does this lovely little bird for Fright Reads,
Yeah,
our
they're
little
Raven.
mascot. Um, Kaylin's hands are all over Fright Reads. If you look at like all the badges and everything, that artwork is pretty much her. And I said, "Here's the line that I wrote." And it's like, I've done all the interrogation I can, but I'm not going to hit a woman. And Kaylin dives forward and says, but I will. And it's still funny. And I was like, that's funny, but I will. Pop. She said, I like it, but what if you changed it to, but I'll hit a bitch?
Oh my goodness.
And the dynamic of that dialogue line just, wow. Like you read that, you're just like, yeah, that's it. That's the way it should have sounded. And I did that with a couple other people. We just made sure that some of their nuances were right. Brian constantly making like Wizard of Oz reference for the most part, because he does that in real life. He's like, yeah, it's usually Wizard of Oz or Willy Wonka. And I was like, okay, I've heard you say Wonka references. So we were able to flex and mingle. And what churned out happened to be the most true to life. If this had happened, you feel like this happened. Like you're almost at the end of the book going, is he okay? Did this happen? Is this like a memoir? Where did let me start Googling. Did this actually
Yeah,
happen?
no. Like not to like tempt fate and have murder spree and scary movie makers
Yeah.
come in and act snuff, but in case.
And you don't get any books from this perspective. Like nobody's ever being a vendor at a convention and something go wrong. I don't think there's a that genre exists. That market isn't there. So I hope I'm the first.
All right, let's shift to talking about the Fright Reads Book Festival. Like we said, it's in its fifth year.
Oh
Awesome.
yeah.
Um,
Who let that
how did that
happen?
get started? What inspired you guys?
I love the how did it get started and the inspiration. It started with literal spite. It was born out of spite.
It's a start.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
was like,
always
how
a
do I
start for
phrase
them.
this? It's born out of spite. The best analogy that I can give is so when this all happened, this was just before the pandemic. This is like 2019. I applied to be at a horror book festival, very much
Okay.
what Freight Reads became, and I was denied. They said, "Oh, this isn't the right genre we're looking for." And I'm like, there is a book about a serial killer, buddy. I don't know how much more horror do you want? There's short horror stories, there's this sci-fi horror, there's serial killer. So I was just mad about it with their denial letter. You're not the right fit. And I was like, I'm not the right fit. Fine. And if you've ever seen Futurama, Bender says, fine, I'll have my own with hookers and blackjack. I literally tell everybody that is the origin story for Fright Reads. Fine, I'll make my own book festival with hookers and blackjack. And I tell it, and then the follow up. Now that we're in year 5, we've had Linnea Quigley, who was in a movie called Chainsaw Hookers. So we had our hookers, and we were this close to being set up at the casino at Maryland Live. So
Oh
we would have
wow. Yeah.
blackjack. So I would have my hookers and blackjack. It would have been, like full circle, the whole thing. But yes, it started out of spite because I wanted somewhere that my books didn't feel weird. This is my books are like par of the course for the day. You're not going to go into like Awesome Con or something and you're going to see everything from fantasy to nonfictions to everything in between. And then there's this guy just coated in like a bloody jersey. Like, hey, you like murder? And they kind of walk a little faster.
Yeah.
Um, so they come around to Fright Reads and I go, hey, you like murder? They're like, I do. I actually do. I don't know what to do with that. I'm like, I didn't prepare for this part. But yeah, it really did get spawned out of a need for not a niche market, but it still is a mildly taboo market. Horror is still people go, I don't like horror. It's scary. Yes. Yes, that's literally the definition of
Yeah.
but okay.
I always
Yeah,
find
so
it the more the neglected sibling to like sci-fi and
yeah.
thriller or just flat out like mystery detective fiction.
So what's great is with Fright Reads, it's not just a horror convention. It's a Halloween book festival, is what it's being marketed as. I tell everybody it's Halloween, so literally anything really goes. It's more of a focus on horror and spooky things, but I can have superhero stuff. I was like, somebody's dressed as Batman for Halloween. You have sci-fi. You can dress up as an astronaut for Halloween. You can pretend, be these things. So under our roof is horror, science fiction, those cozy mysteries you mentioned. We have stuff that is just dark fantasy, high fantasy. So if you want to read some Lord of the Ringsy type of like over the top Gandalf goes on an adventure type of books, they're in there. Like all of this stuff is in there. So I love the fact that it's just an eclectic group of people that are just hanging out under one roof.
Yeah, and so from year one to now, which is again 5 years later, so half a decade. So congrats on that. How have you feel like it's evolved or what's changed with the festival since your first burgeoning time?
So you guys weren't there for year 1. You don't know the struggle. Um, you
Yeah, I
weren't
came in the
there.
first time I saw it was year three, I think. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so you saw it when it sorted itself out.
Yeah,
Year
yeah.
2 was still kind of a little rocky. Um, year 1, we had Caprico's books, we had Park books, and they could literally just play cards with each other. That's how big the building was. And I had them at opposite ends. They each brought respective authors in. Same thing I've been doing. And surprisingly, same guest. We're gonna have Richard Chismar again with Capricos. Liz from Capricos managed to land me Richard Chismar, and I thought that was hot out of the gate. I was like, I got a big deal. That guy hangs out with Stephen King. That's
He
something.
does.
Like he's best buddies with Stephen King. He wrote books with him. This is going places. So I was all excited for it. We could fit because we were just off the heels of the pandemic. This is
Yeah.
2021. So 2020, I just lived with all that rage of I'm going to build an event. Um, so I took that and we got into, I think it was the first weekend of October was our first one. We had that event. We had 25 vendors, 24 of them showed, and one of them left early because he didn't sell anything in the first 10 minutes. But oh man, we but what's crazy is there are people that have been there since year one that are still signing up on year five. I can't get rid of them and I love them for it. But we had a guy that it's our year one. We had free tickets. You were able to enter for free with the philosophy of the pandemic sucked. Come do something fun. Come buy some books just in case. We had a we had a good 50-50 spread of authors and vendors. And this one guy, I don't remember his name. And the only thing that we call him is Dragon Man. We affectionately call
Okay.
him Dragon Man because he was diagonal from me. Now, in the first up to year three, I think I got away with it. But the first 2 years, nobody knew that I was the event runner. I would just sit at my table and watch. And especially at the first venue, like I said, you could just like high five the person across the hall. That's how close you were. This guy he had no tablecloth. He had one copy of his book and a hand drawn map and a statue of a dragon. That's all that was on his table. And he had his COVID mask on, sitting down, hunched over, playing on his phone. So very uninviting, very unapproachable look to begin with. And within the first 20 minutes, he had packed up his milk crate with all his goodies and left. And as he's leaving, I made the joke. I was like, "You sell out already?" I know I have it on good authority that many people haven't come through that door yet. Somehow I just know. But I'm an author that knows too much. No, and he said, "No, I didn't sell anything. And if you see whoever's running this place, tell them to go F themselves." And I was like, "I'll relay the message. Have a good one. Get home safe." And I found out later that he had approached two of my volunteers with the weirdest pitch. And he like one of my volunteers is my next door neighbor. So I'll do it occasionally over the fence and he'll just yell out, "Stop." And it's been 5 years, but it's that ingrained in him. The guy said, "Hey, do you like dragons?" With that inflex. And Steve looked at him and said, "I do not," and walked quickly away from his table. And I was like, man, I don't know if that's a good pitch, but you may want to revisit that and touch it up just a little bit because it comes off creepy. Do you like to have your organs?
Yes, I do actually. I've worked convention tables and other things where I've been at like Awesome Con or something, raising funds for charity for like groups that partner with an old charity I was in. And I do know that there's like that table side of things where you have to actually say hi to people and engage them, and it doesn't do it
Yeah,
by
it's
itself.
rough.
Even if you're trying to get a donation for something for like $1 or two, you're like, hey, I exist in the sea of other tables.
You have to approach people. And I've seen people that have like you have no people skills as the author, so you got to get your mouthpiece. You got to get your sales buddy. You need your advocate, somebody that can be your mouthpiece for you and heckle the crowd and whatnot. So it's a learning curve for everybody as an author, as a vendor. Sometimes it just doesn't sell itself. You have to sell it for you.
Okay, so this year you're not going to be in a closet. You're going to be at the Howard County Fairgrounds. Are we
Benfield
excited
wasn't
about being at the fairgrounds?
Benfield wasn't a closet. It was a walk-in.
We were meaning for
Um,
the year one when you were describing it as whatever the
yeah.
first venue was.
Okay,
Yeah,
Yeah.
of
yeah. So
course.
but Benfield was a good midway upgrade. Let's be honest. The only downside was there was zero parking. We had
Yeah.
13 parking spots, and five of them were taken up. But the biggest thing about going to the fairgrounds this year is parking. I don't even care about the size of the building. The building could be the exact same size, and I wouldn't really be that upset. It's the fact that I have paved gigantic parking lot. We can actually fit cars out there and people don't have to park on the side of the street, down the hill, around the corner, all that other mess that we had to do the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the last 3 years at Benfield have been a little parking restricted. But otherwise, building was fine. So how do you upgrade? Those were some of the upgrades that I wanted to get. I wanted to have parking for sure, and the fairgrounds, I can have vehicles inside the buildings. So I've had over the years, we've had the Jurassic Park Jeep, we've had a DeLorean parked out front, the Ecto one from Ghostbusters parked out front, and they've kind of cycled through that little showcase spot that we can kind of squeeze them into. This year, I can put them inside the building. So that's a huge upgrade with the fairgrounds. I have a mermaid group that can put their fish tank inside and swim around.
So they like dress up like mermaids and get in their own tank this year?
Excuse me, dress up. They are
Oh,
mermaids.
okay.
How
That's
dare you?
awesome.
Yeah, but
That's
yes,
really
they
cool.
I hope that they can pull it off because I asked for a little 50-50 of like traditional sirens with the fangs
Okay.
and then the Little Mermaid side of the house, for a little bit for everybody. You don't want it to be too spooky, but I always try to make sure it's geared for all ages. So anybody that's too sensitive to really scary stuff, can you imagine going to go meet a mermaid and they got the fangs, um, fangs and claws? But then at least you would have like the Ariel-esque Little Mermaid type to kind of balance it out, and you could be like, oh, I want to talk to the nice mermaid, not the evil murdery mermaid. So
Not
we're able to
traumatize
put
kids too
that in
much.
there because like we're looking to put that in there because we couldn't do that with the sports center because they had a nice squishy sports ball floor and you can't put a nice and heavy several bajillion pound water filled tank on a nice squishy sports ball floor,
No.
otherwise you don't have sports
To have
ball
a sports
floor.
ball floor anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of really great changes came with the new venue. We have more than just the one building, so we have two of our main buildings, and then just up the hill we have a building booked out for our private theater. We'll have a film festival that Things Forsaken has actually sponsored. So it's the Things Forsaken Film Festival, and you'll be able to watch their movie there among others. There's a lot that I can get crazy with here, and we got the hot dog guy from last year back. So if that doesn't sell it for you, I don't know what does.
And I did see on your site the hot dog guy has gluten-free options. So that is nice. I guess gluten-free buns
He
as well.
he's
Nice.
got gluten free. He's got vegan options. The boxes have been checked. So
Yeah,
I
totally.
and that's how I kind of do things. And I've done that since year one. I want to create the as exclusive as I can get and inclusive. I want it to be so much fun for everybody. But I want it to feel like we're in a secret club, like, oh, you didn't go to FrightReads? But anybody that does come out, I want to have that inclusivity. I want to make sure that, you can't take care of everybody. My God, there's so many things that you have to account
Oh, it's
for.
true. Yeah.
There's just a shotgun blast of problems out there in this world, and you can only fix so many of them or get ahead of a few. So the easy low-hanging fruit was make sure my food vendor had the appropriate options. So I even try to find out when we did our after parties and stuff, the restaurant had to have gluten and vegan options or some semblance of. Um, but having a food truck, this is going to be the sole food that's basically provided for the event. If I had one guy that had the sugariest and most gluten filled and meat filled items, that doesn't really help everybody. So I try to make sure that yes, he did have vegan, he did have gluten free, he's got all the different options.
Yeah,
And so
no,
yeah,
Midnight over there is gluten-free, so we're really conscious of where can we find something that doesn't have some bread and grain in it. So it gets really appreciated.
yeah.
So you had talked a little bit about how things remembered or that
Things
group,
Forsaken.
that's it, things forsaken.
One of them deals with
Post
baby doll heads,
observers.
the other one engraves your silver.
Yeah, exactly. So they're doing the film festival, but you also were able to get some pretty interesting and like cool special guests, like Heather Graham and Adam Cesar, who are authors, and they've done. I know that Adam Cesar had the Clown in a Cornfield, which became sort of like this
Yeah.
sort of hit of like it was smaller
What a
and like had
movie.
sort of interesting releases and stuff, but like
What a great
it was
movie.
like a legit hit with like clowns, cornfields, the whole thing. It like surprised
Yeah.
people this year. So how is the process of getting authors to come? How do you get ones who are maybe goals or reaches like Heather Graham or Cesar? What's the process for that?
So it's funny because like I said, in year one, I asked Caprico's Books. I said, Liz, I would love to have you on board. Is there somebody you can get? And she says, I have a lead on Richard Chismar,
Is he local
and
to
I can
Maryland, by
get
the
him.
way? I always wondered.
What's that?
Is
Rich?
Chismar from this
Yeah,
area? Yeah, that's what I
yeah,
thought.
yeah. He's up north, so he's not too far. He's I don't know. At all times, it feels like he's a half hour away, but that's Maryland in a nutshell, right? Everything's a
Right?
half hour, even if it's 2 hours. It's a half hour away. Where's Ocean City? It's like a half hour. It's like three. But yeah, she got me Chismar, so that kind of opened it up. As year two got in, we had Justina Ireland. And that was again another one that Liz had a connection to, also local. She's going to be at something soon. I don't remember what, but she's going to be at an event. I saw her name pop up. Oh, it was Farpoint.
Oh yeah.
Not quite soon. That's like in February, but still, soon. Time is a construct. We discussed this, but soon-ish. So Justina actually did our event, and like a giant dork, because she wrote some of her work is Star Wars related, not all of. I show up in a Hawaiian shirt with Star Wars stuff on it. I have the Anakin and Obi-Wan battle on it and everything, just this over the top nerd look. It was great. But then we got into Adam. Just I reached out to Adam. I talked to him at a Monster Mania. Like, he was set up down the road from me. And I said, Hey man, how's it going? Love Clown in a Cornfield. We actually read it as our book club book. And I kind of asked him, I said, hey, I'd love to have you as a guest. What would it take to get you down there? And he said, what are the dates? Gave him the dates, and he said, yeah, toss me a hotel and I'll come on down.
Very cool.
And Adam's come down every year since. This year he has another engagement taking him away on Sunday. So he has to come down Saturday, and he's checking out from us. We got him for one day. But other people, it's everybody else pulling people in. Like I mentioned Brian Paoni earlier. Heather is from him,
Oh
more or
cool.
less. He's so because he's in the supernatural book writing world and the ghost hunting club. He's in that exclusive club now. They got jackets. He's been hanging out with Get Haunted, and Heather is in that circle. She's in that circle and knows the crew from Get Haunted, knows Brian very well now. He said, Hey, would you like Heather Graham? And obviously, when you ask somebody that without any kind of pretense, you're like, Hey, would you like Heather Graham at your event? Like, Felicity Shagwell? Yes. Like, no, the
Yeah,
author.
no, I know, right? Because
Yeah,
people
and
make
you're
that
like,
mistake.
no,
I'm
the
like, no, no,
author.
no,
No,
thriller author, not
no,
that one. But
no.
man, she'd be
And then, like,
applicable now because she did Suitable Flesh, though. So, which is a good movie.
true. But yeah, I'm like, Felicity Shagwell? Yeah, baby. I got all excited, and I was like, and he goes, no, 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 the author. And I was like, oh, well, that's still just as cool, but you
Yeah,
got to lead with that. Like, would you like author Heather Graham? And then I can go, oh, and I love her website is like the real Heather Graham
yeah.
or
I'm
the
sure
fake
author Heather
Heather
Graham
Graham,
has had
something
that
like
happen
that.
so many times. We're like, no, 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 I'm the other one.
Yeah, but that's how that happened. And like I said, with Chismar, now I got Chismar Jr. His son Billy writes. So Billy's
Yeah,
actually making his Fright Reads debut this year. We're gonna have his book come out. Trying to think of anybody else that we've had. Ron Malfi. He's just a good
he's
buddy
local
of
too,
mine.
I think.
Yeah, he's very local. I could literally have a beer with him if I wanted to. That local to me.
Yeah,
Um, but he's just a good dude, and we came up in some of the same circuits. And he can't do it this year. I think his new book is taking him out of state, but he's been pretty good about coming down. But it's a lot of these people are just they're in my current network prior to writing, and I'm able to just call in the favor or, hey, you know how you made it kind of big? Would you like to come down here and do my thing? No big deal or anything. But most of the time, that's what it is. It's just getting to know people within the system and doing these events and meeting the authors.
and you all
Um,
came up together, or some of you did, so that helps create those
yeah, yeah.
networks.
Some of us either came up together or we ran in the same circles, but never with each other. Like Ron Malfi has the band Veer, and because I'm friends with another guy, Kevin Hawk, who runs Transcendent Events, and they do a lot of concerts, there the two had met. My two worlds had come together, and I got to meet Malfi at StellarCon a couple years ago, and it's been good since. I've had him at almost every year.
Very
So
cool.
it's all just lucky happenstances, really. Like, just I have emails that I'll send out that don't go anywhere, but I've been having better luck with, "Hey, do you want so and so?" Yes. Yes, I will. So Jeff Strand is in my event. This is a really funny story because we read a short horror story Christmas book collection for our book club, and Jeff Strand had one in there that was essentially the song Christmas Shoes just weaponized. And if you're not familiar with Christmas Shoes, you
It's
need
like
to go
this
through
really
your.
schmaltzy country thing, right? The Christmas shoes one, the
Oh,
original version.
schmalty is not the word I use. The saddest song that has ever been written for no reason. It has no reason to be this sad. It's terrible. It's just sad. There's a Rob Lowe Hallmark
Yeah,
Channel movie about it. It's
I saw some YouTubers make fun of that one once because
yeah.
it's
Well,
very
Jeff
MST for
Strand.
Cable.
Oh man, you can't. I don't even think those guys can handle it. There's just too much to work with. They never have a moment. But Jeff wrote this short story, and I was like, "You guys, we got to have Jeff at Fright Reads. I don't care what it takes, what I got to do." I emailed him, and I think it was under the pretenses, "Hi, we just read your short story, Good Deeds, and there's a real big personal connection with the Christmas shoes story." And I explained to him about our friend Maurice, who had since passed away. He used to troll people with karaoke. You would just have Bon Jovi and Queen and Fall Out Boy, and then here he comes up. It was almost Christmas Eve. And and I was like, it was just so funny. That's what the story happened to be about. And now Jeff is coming back for another year. So this will be year 2 for Jeff.
Very cool. I just
So
love that
it's
someone
it's
takes
weird how
something
that
that's
happens.
like sentimental and is like, I can make a parody of it and I can make it scarier. Obviously, much scarier.
It wasn't even scary. It was just like it was the shortest story in the book, and it was very tongue in cheek and just fun. And you were laughing, and you shouldn't have been laughing. But it was like, it was violent, it was bloody, but you're just like, oh my God. I don't know if it's just the backstory that we knew, but it just made that story like 10 times sweeter.
So at the FrightReads Festival, you'll also have members from Trauma and stars from Nightmare on Elm Street and other series. Can you talk a little bit about recruiting them and other celebrities? How is it different from recruiting within the book sphere?
It's different. With books, there's a visibility thing. I don't know if you've been on Amazon lately, but there's 10 bajillion books out there.
Yes, there
Everybody's
are.
an
Yeah.
author. Not all of them are good. Half of them are probably terrible. The other half, you could probably divide that in half again to readable, and then you have your core select good authors. So it's such an oversaturated market. It's hard to find somebody that's just in the weeds. With movies, it's a big difference. It's something that you visually can see. You can get excited. You can meet a cast member of a TV show or movie that, you didn't think you could meet. Like I got to meet Marcy Darcy herself, Amanda Bierce, up at a Creature Feature, and she was so fantastic. I was expecting her to just completely just, I don't want to talk about Married with Children, but she loves it. She's finally realized what an impact that show has had and what kind of a long-lasting power. So I love meeting those kind of celebrities. So that's pretty much what I try to book are people that you're like, I didn't think to meet them, but I absolutely should. So with you mentioned Trauma first. With Trauma, I didn't have Lloyd first. I actually had Jane Jensen first because again, I'm going to throw his name out there. Somebody's going to buy his books because of this. Be like, what is this guy all about? Brian Paoni. He has been friends with Jane for a long time, since the 90s. And I don't know who he's not friends with.
Yeah, I
Like
was gonna
I
say he
can
goes
get,
way back with lots of people. There you go.
dude, I got an insult video from Jesus Jones themselves, Mike from Jesus Jones, insulting me from the back of Brian's car because I didn't come out to a concert because I love Jesus Jones and I love their songs. This dude knows just about everybody. So I would have to thank him for a good like third of the special guests that we have. But he got me Jane Jensen. That's actually before we got on this. That was who I was on the phone with. But she was in one Trauma film, Tromeo and Juliet.
Which is really famous though.
It's got the guns in it,
Yeah, I know.
and
I think it's one of the first
like,
things he got to like write and like work on
yeah,
is James
that
Gunn.
was.
It's like
And I
big
to
gun stuff.
somebody, and they're like, the way you're saying it is that you have a movie with the guns in it." And I was like, "Yes, I do. It's Jane Jensen. She was in the movie with the guns. They're her co-stars. You dummy. Like, understand the context." But like, you don't understand this movie. It's out there. It's a pretty big one. it's a fun, stupid trauma film, as they all are. And then I said, oh, well, it'd be cool if I had Lloyd, because I think this would be a good get, and it would help Jane too by having a little bit of trauma action. I guess I had enough trauma happening that I summoned the powers, and Lloyd's now on board. I actually got to talk to some of the guys, Frankie Bones and the guys that work in his circle and everything, and they were very glad. They've been trying to get Lloyd to come down my way
Oh,
for the
cool.
last year or two. So now the
Go
the
to
pieces
Baltimore,
are,
see the crabs.
yeah, come see the crabs. Come get crabs. I don't know.
Hmm.
See how you feel.
Yeah.
Depends what you're into. I'm not here to tell you what to do. Then Lloyd kind of fell into play. Outside of that, a lot of them I have to thank. I don't know if you got to meet her last year. She was hanging out with Bill Perry up at the People Under the Stairs area, but Donna Jean does just about every horror convention that she can drive to feasibly on the East Coast.
Cool.
She is a horror icon in her own right just because of how invested she is with the community. She's just friends with every celebrity that they talk to her. Like she's really good friends with the Kane Hodder.
Oh, wow.
Um, like like actual buddies. Like they both are
Yeah.
cancer survivors, and that's what they connected over. So now they call each other when they're having a rough day. Wouldn't that be cool just to be able to like, hey, Jason Voorhees, what's up,
Yeah,
buddy?
totally. I was gonna.
So she's gotten a few people in contact, but also so is Matt Burns. Matt used to run a Four State Comic Con. So he's still got a bunch of connections and he still knows people and he's still in the circuit. So he's thrown me Beatrice, as you mentioned from Nightmare on Elm Street. I got Freddy Krueger's mom, and we got that set up. We got Tara Buckman from Cannonball Run.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah, one of the Lambo blondes. So we have her, but she was also in Silent Night, Deadly Night with Linnea Quigley, who we had as a guest prior. And now I'm just friends with Stay Puft the Marshmallow Man. So I just reached out to Billy and I said, "You coming to see your family?" And we worked it out to have him come to Fright Reads and then hang out with his family for the rest of the week because
Which
it's
is
it's his
amazing.
birthday week. It's his
Because,
birthday week.
yeah,
So
you mentioned how much Ghostbusters meant to you, but those were big movies for, I think, both of us respectively. My brother
I
was
mean,
super into those. And I think one of the first movies I ever saw in the theaters when I was like 3 was Ghostbusters 2. So anything Ghostbusters is always amazing.
yeah,
Um, Looping back to films, I know you mentioned now because you have the more space, you have the film festival coming up. The Things
yeah.
Forsaken is running. Have you gotten to see any of the clips of the films that are going to be there, or know anything about the ones that I think it's at least 3 that they're going to set up there, or any hints on
So
what they're going to be about?
I have seen I have seen Things Forsaken. I've seen their movie. That's a that's a movie. I don't think I have anything that is rated for a child to be near, let alone inside and watching. I don't think they should even like touch the wall of the building. I watched the Things Forsaken's part one. I don't know that they're going to have part two. I think we came to terms with that. We'll just show part one and be done with it. Um, there is a scene, and it's not CGI, it's not prosthetics, it is practical effects, where one of the characters is hung from meat hooks, like
Oh,
quite literally just from the chest, hanging backwards, just suspended. And I was just like, I don't get squeamish often, but I looked at this and I was like, oh, no. And he was hung up. He genuinely, they said they did one take, and I was like, yeah,
oh,
I don't do multiple takes of that. You're right. Yeah, that's a one and done. You didn't get it. Sorry, we don't need it.
yeah.
Uh,
It's like I like my body in one place. Yeah, one piece.
yeah. So there are, it deals with a lot of time jump. There's some emotional trauma being worked out. There's a man hooked up on meat hooks, like some Hellraiser level stuff. But it deals with like a lot of the Native American traditions. Like it's got a little bit of everything, a little bit of shamanism. I was pulling a lot of different vibes out of it. So that's the one that I've seen, I think, from start to finish. I think it's the finale track was done by Ferentz's son, who literally recorded a demo version and it's just raw and just this unclean tracking. But it's just a beautiful emotion-filled song. And you're like, wow, man, it's a beautiful song, so everybody that gets to see it should stick around to the end and hear that song. I'm sure they'll tell you about how it was created and stuff, but the other movies I have not seen. I have had Blood and Breakfast. This will be its second time at a Fright Reads event,
Oh, cool.
and still have yet to see it. I
I'm
get to
sure
be
you're
too
very busy
busy.
the days of. Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
say.
I get the privilege of being too busy. I think I popped into Shriek Show for like 10 seconds to make sure that yes, they were playing a movie and yes, it was working. That they didn't have like Spanish dubbed sound or something goofy. But that's about it. I just saw like the opening credits and I was like, okay, looks like the movie's working out. I'm gonna go ahead and go back to the event. But we got some. They're going to be just fun movies. If I can fit them in there, I want to get the comedy of horrors guys to also be in there. I don't know if you've seen their Night Watchman movie.
No,
You
I
should.
haven't. Sorry.
You should. It's a vampire flick,
Okay.
but it's not like anything you've ever seen.
Well, I'll definitely look for it because I like any type of our vampires are different and how you can make it like a really different type of idea. It's
Boy,
always
these
fun.
are different. I don't know how to stress how different they are, but we're gonna try to squeeze that in too. I'm trying to flex the time so that way everybody's projects get their time and you can see a complete movie. I don't want to just cut it off and be like, anyway, you can go on to Tubi or whatever and watch the rest of it, or buy our DVD if you want to see how it ends. Be a great sales tactic, but dirty move.
Yeah, no, it reminds me, what was that horror movie 10 years ago? It was a possession movie and they really do cut to the end. They're like, you can go to this website. I remember going to see
Yeah,
that in the theater and I was like, or I could not, and you could have finished the movie. So
yeah. That's called we couldn't finish it in time and needed to put it in the theaters.
The Devil Inside, that's it. Never see that one. It made me so mad.
Yeah,
It's very
yeah.
enraging.
That's a shame.
A little scammy.
Yeah, a little bit.
There any other events like specific panels that you'd like to tease for the public before we go?
Oh man, I actually I just almost finished the graphic. So I do have that fresh here. So we got a couple of cool panels. So the first one that we come out of the gate with on Saturday is Authors 101. I'm sure you've seen that take place the last couple of years.
Yeah.
It started as a half-hour panel, and then we realized that we need more than a half hour. We're getting into, again, Brian Paoni and a few others. We'll be talking about what it's like to start writing a book, all like down to the very having an idea, all the way up through what do you do when you have the book? Where do you sell it? How do you sell it? How do you market it? What should I have a website? Should I go to a convention? Should I sell at this farmer's market? I don't know. Whatever. Like they'll answer those, then they'll have their Q&A where they can answer a specific question. But it's been one of the most successful and helpful because we had a few people last year that said, thanks to this panel, I was actually able to get my draft one done. It gave them the jump start that they needed. And I usually started off with anyone can be an anyone can be a writer. Have you already written something? They're like, no, but I want to be one. Well, you got an idea? Write it. Then you're a writer. Congratulations. If you want to be an author, you have to actually commit, finish, and publish and put it out into the world.
Boy,
And
do
don't
we.
ever half-ass anything. Whole ass one thing. Never half-ass your entire process. But I would say that's our first out of the gate at like 1 o'clock. Like as soon as we open up and people start flooding in, that's one that I would say definitely hit. The other one that I think I'm excited for some stupid reason, what is Krampus? Did you guys
Oh
get to see the
wow.
Krampus? Did you get to
I've
see
seen a
Krampus
bunch of
walking
different
around?
I've seen some of the I haven't seen like somebody dressed up as Krampus lately, but like I've seen a couple of different movies about it. So yeah, Krampus is
Oh,
it's a
so you
fun
didn't
half
get
of
to
the
see the
legend.
Baltimore Krampus last
No.
year, the year before. So he walks around in full regalia. He's got his cloak, his horns, his staff, and he's just, you'll hear the bells. And he's got like a kid in the back of the basket that he's kidnapped with the reeds to whip them and whatnot. So he approached me with a great panel. He said, "What if I got a couple of the Krampuses or the Krampi or whatever the multiple of, um, several Krampi come together." So he's looking at like Jersey, Delaware, New York, Pennsylvania, surrounding states where they have their own like official Krampus representative. I don't know how else to phrase that. And they're going to talk about like the origin of Krampus, the history, the lore, why is it still relevant today, and so on. I think that's going to be one of the cooler panels on
Yeah.
Saturday that I think would be fun. Um, we will have. Did you guys get to see the play last year? The live play?
No. I think we saw part of it because I think it was near the time we did our panel. So I saw people like either practicing or like speaking, but I was kind of
Yeah.
also nervous and in that space of I'm nervous. Let me keep reviewing what I'm about to
Yeah.
say. But I just
So
sat in the chairs as they were doing it. So I
so
saw
they
them. I
did
was just
the
like, oh my gosh.
Dracula one where it was Dracula trying to find a new bride who happened to be like an influencer. It was stupid. It's funny. Like what a dumb premise, but it was funny. This one is called Be a Doll and Die. So it is a murder mystery theme, where all of the suspects are the different horror dolls. So like the Annabelle doll, Billy from Saw, Chucky,
Oh, that's
Barbie,
cool.
whatever. Yeah, it's all of them. So it'll be a lot of dolls and it'll be a murder mystery. That's some of the cool stuff. And then on Sunday, Things Forsaken's going to have their story time just got real. I don't know if you saw that, but that was their Mad Libs thing where
Yeah, I
you
think I
fill in the
saw it
blanks.
the first year I went. I guess that would have been
Yeah,
2023. Things like,
yeah, that would be
gosh,
year
time
three.
flies. Yeah, so I saw them.
So good thing I started it on the right years because like five is 25,
Yeah,
four is 20. So I'm stupid and I'll forget too. So yeah, that was I think year three and they did that and I love that panel. What aside from the Hip Hop McDougal concert on Sunday, which I think everyone will just think is just silly and fun. Two guys that rap about either science fiction, nostalgia,
that sounds so
werewolves,
funny.
whatever it happens to be. They have costume changes. Think low budget Alice Cooper. Like and if you're thinking there, lower that budget. Um
Yeah.
it'll be a lot of fun. And then of course we're going to have the Stay Puft panel on Sunday. We'll have the costume contests again at the end of the days. Kids one day, grown-ups the next, or vice versa, whichever order that they land. Um, it'll be a blast. I'm really looking forward to a lot of the programming this year. I'll never get to see it, but I'm looking
Yeah,
forward,
it's like getting married. Like you don't have time for stuff, but everybody who's coming has time as you coordinate it and like
right?
are just running around. Yeah. So if someone wanted to help volunteer with the festival or do anything for the festival, do you take volunteers? Do you need any information for that or you guys got it handled?
We pretty much have the same crew year to year.
Cool.
Um, I would say if anybody wants to get involved, just show up. Be a regular. I've
Keep
had a few
supporting it
people.
by showing up.
Yeah, I've had a few people that I have one person that has attended since year one, and I'm like, do you want like a t-shirt to work here? I can save you a couple of bucks on a ticket. You won't have any more back or legs. You'll be tired, but I can save you some money on entry. So sometimes I'll have people that do that. But overall, we have the same core crew. I like to keep it that way because if we start bringing in weird outsiders and then I got to do background checks on people just in case because we do have a lot of kid centric stuff and
That makes a lot of sense too.
it gets goofy and I like to know all my people. So
And
it's
so
fun.
just if you want to plug your websites and your socials for like FrightReads and for your own author site, what's the website? And also, are you guys on Instagram or you're on TikTok? Where are you all that we can
Oh
find
my
you?
God.
Like the socials.
We're on TikTok. Do I upload to TikTok? Absolutely not, but it's there. Um, God, it's just one extra facet of
Yeah.
doing, and you got to keep making content, or
I
otherwise
feel it's
your
sometimes
stuff just
generational because I
disappears.
know I like we prefer Instagram so far, more
Yeah.
obviously podcasting. Like I just haven't sat down to think about like how TikTok works, but I find a lot of authors or people I know, at least in the millennial Gen X like brackets, they're not as TikToky or they're learning it. It's like a second language. I feel like the Gen Zers, they just breathe it, and know how to do.
I mean, for me personally, it's the creating of content and the need to constantly be making. I'm like, I gotta make enough stuff. I gotta make a whole book festival. I gotta write books. I don't have time to do some stupid dance to some song that I don't know. It's funny because if you've seen any of the promotional stuff that I put out, 90% of the songs are older songs. Somebody's like, why don't you use like the newer like poppy music? I'm like, no, no, I'm going to use Rob Zombie. Sorry, bud. Um,
Branding.
exactly, and it's branding.
Yeah.
But no, there's like newer stuff that some pop star did a super poppy, spooky song, but it's not very spooky. But if you're looking for me, I am on Facebook, on both sections, for Fright Reads and my writing, but Facebook, Instagram, sort of on Twitter X. They got a little goofy and I don't feel like
Yeah.
using their app anymore. But I try to be over there as well. Kind of like I don't know if it gets more love than TikTok. I really don't know. It's kind of a fight for who's in third place. But on Facebook, you can find my writing. It's H Carpenter Writer. That'll take you just about everywhere. If you go to the website, hcarpenterwriter.com. So I'm Harry Carpenter Writer in some way, shape, or form. You can find that just about anywhere. I'm on Amazon and all the other bookstores. If you wanted to pre-order Nightmares Unbound, knock yourself out. It does release on the 12th, so you can technically have a digital copy, read it really, really, really fast, and then come talk to me about it that Saturday at Fright Reads. But it's available for pre-order everywhere: Barnes and Noble, Books a Million, Amazon, through my website, so on and so forth. If you are looking for the book release party of Nightmares Unbound, that would be Fright Reads Book Festival. And Fright Reads is at frightreads.com. I try not to be too complicated with the links. Frightreads.com. If you're looking for it on social media, it's Fright Reads or Fright Reads Book Fest, depending on how many characters or originality I needed.
Yeah, no, I make sure. Sometimes you're like, I want this name, but it's already taken. But it's smart to keep it as simple as possible.
Yeah, Fright Reads Book Fest sometimes catches me off guard because I'm like, wait, it should just be Fright Reads. And it's like, no, 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 you use Book Fest on this one. I'm like, ah, you got me. But yeah, it's available there. Tickets are on sale. Go to our website, frightreads.com. We have general admission single days. You can do the whole weekend. I have some VIP left over. They're going to probably sell out by the end of this month if they do, just because that timeline. We're usually at the end of September. Now we're in the middle of it. So that
Yeah.
timeline has been escalated. Usually it was the beginning of September I sold out, like that first week or two. But now with that timeline being pushed up, it'll probably be out by the end of August. So you're going to get all kinds of things. I'm wearing one of them now that nobody can see, but Fright Reads t-shirts. You're
It
going to,
has a raven reading a little book on a skull, so it's very both
his
scary
name
and
is
very
Eduardo.
Baltimore-y. Of
His
course
name
it
is
is.
Eduardo. Eduardo the Raven. Eduardo Frightington the Third is his full name. Um, you can't take that from Kalen. That's forever ingrained. It'll be Eduardo. So we'll have this t-shirt or multiple styles. It's an event t-shirt. You'll get a lanyard that says that you're a VIP. You'll get with a cool little Fright Reads lanyard that you can use for other events and tell them how cool you have a lanyard. When you get one of those shoestring ones, I have, well, we got one of those Live Strong rubbery bracelets that says Fright Reads on it. We have those in the bag. We'll have probably stickers or keychain or something. The bag itself has the Fright Reads logo on it. That, and you get an hour early entry to come in and hang out with us at Fright Reads on Saturday. So
Very
I don't know if
cool.
that doesn't convince you. And if that doesn't work, then you can bring 5 people and pay for 4 tickets with the group pass. So there's a squad pass. It's 5 tickets for the price of 4. And that's all
Oh,
on frightreads.com. Hooray.
all right. So two more questions for the row. What are your favorite horror movie and favorite horror book?
Oh, my favorite horror movie is all over the room. We were talking about it earlier.
Yes. All right.
Ghostbusters. But does that count as a horror? Like it, I don't know. It's like a horror sci-fi comedy. I think it might be a little too loosey goosey.
Yeah, I know when
Um,
Favorite
I saw the second one and the
Ghostbusters.
Titanic came in, I didn't sleep very well, but I was 3, so
Titanic is so scary.
that scene
Um,
in Ghostbusters 2 is scary. You're like, it comes in and they got like skeletons. If
late
you're
than
young enough,
never.
it'll definitely freak you out. Yeah, exactly.
Better late than never. That was Tommy Chong, right?
Yeah,
No, it
it
was
was
Cheech.
Cheech. It
It
was
was
Cheech.
Cheech. So my favorite is Scream. I would have to say if I had to go with like a proper horror, something horror slasher. I'm a fan of anything like supernatural. So I do like the Rings, Ringu, Ju-on. All of the Japanese horror is always fantastic. I
Yeah.
do like those, but if I had to pick like a favorite that's just fun for me, it's Scream. I actually quoted Scream in Nightmares Unbound. Among other things, I quoted Ghostbusters, I quoted Big Trouble in Little China, literally every movie that I've ever loved. But I think influentially, Scream changed the dynamics of the market. They broke the rules.
Yeah.
And I think, and I go back even a step further back, New Nightmare, Wes Craven's New Nightmare, where
So underrated.
it's like 30, 40 years old. You guys can live with the spoilers. It's Freddy Krueger gets invoked in real life and starts killing the cast of Nightmare on Elm Street. And it's the first time that you ever broke the fourth wall and had Freddy Krueger kill Freddy Krueger. I thought that was probably the precursor to him saying, what if we took it another step further and they were self-aware that this could be a horror movie? And those are the rules that they played in based on, Friday the 13th and Halloween and all of that. That's where Scream came in. And I think that's why I love that formula so much. So yeah, we'll say Ghostbusters, but that's such a light horror. I'm going to shoot over to Scream. We'll say Scream.
All right. Well, I appreciate you being here, and we
Yeah.
love being able to talk about Fright Reads and being able to go and cover it as well on our socials, so to speak, with Instagram and everything. And
Yeah.
that will be the weekend of September 13th and 14th, that Saturday and Sunday in mid-September.
Yep.
And we'll see y'all there. And thank you, people, for listening to the podcast. And as far as Other Lands editing goes, we'll be back in a couple weeks. So see you then.
We'll see you guys then.
Thank you for joining the Otherlands Editing Podcast. Look for our next episode coming soon. And in the interim, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Also, if you want more information or want to connect, you can find Margaret Bates and Midnight Voss at our site, Otherlands Editing. Until next time, keep writing and keep refining your words.